I want to share something with you today. Back when I started ministry in 1993 after my car accident, I came to church and I started, getting involved, and we ended up going on a mission trip to Monterrey, Mexico. And I came back with so many questions. I came back with, do I warm a pew? What do I do? What do I do? Do I get into ministry? Many questions. And I went to sleep that night, that first night back, and I had this dream. I had this dream that marked the course of my life. When the dream started out, I was in one of my oldest friend's house. Him and his girlfriend, and we had some history. And so, and these are real people. I mean, there was their faces. It wasn't like just, you know, it was the actual people that are in my life. And so, and I was there, and just sharing life with them, and his girlfriend at the time was trying to be with me, and it was very awkward, very weird, and I refused, and I didn't want to, and I didn't want to get involved. I didn't want to be a part of that anymore. It wasn't a lifestyle I wanted to live anymore. And she told me to leave. And I looked at my in the dream I looked at my friend and I said, "Really?" And he says, "Yeah, you've got to go." And then I left there and immediately was on a stage, and just like an event, concert, so to say. And this is before I had done anything. This is just me, coming back to church, at the time. So it didn't have any reference to anything else. And I don't even think, and so I don't even think it was, again, nothing that I could have conceived happening. And so, I'm sitting there, and as I'm on the stage there, one of the people on there is joking with me about the door prize being something to do with the Yankees. I was really into the Yankees. And so, they were talking about it and, clowning with me about it, making fun of me about it because, I really love the Yankees. And so as I was getting off the stage, I walked down the stage, and when I was walking down the stage, like, people were coming up to me and thanking me for something I had done in their life, for something, I don't know, was prayer or was it, just being present. I don't know. At the time, I had no clue what any of this meant, and it was all the people that I used to party with, that I used to cruise the parks with, that I had history with in the past. And so, in the corner of my eye, I saw the friend from the first scene, him and his girlfriend. And this time they walked through, the arena doors, and it was almost like a gym. Actually, it was almost like a high school gym, and they were walking through the gym doors, and I kind of saw them in the distance, and I was shaking hands, and everything that somebody had on was red, and red was my favorite color at the time, so I thought that's what the significance was. Again, still a new believer, so I don't know the significance of, red being the bloodshed for us. And all of them, again, wearing something red. They were wearing a red rose, red suit, red hat, red shoes, something red they were wearing. And so they were, again, thanking me. And as I see them, I kind of excuse myself, and I go over and I look, and they're dressed really nice. Before they were kind of grubby, but now they're, and not like professional dress, not like, oh, to the T, but they looked a lot better than they were before. And I shook their hands, and as I shook their hands, I, thanked them for coming, and I left out the doors that they came in, and all of a sudden I was in a car with two white women, and they were taking me somewhere. I can't remember where they were taking me, and they told me that they were going to go pick up one of my ex-girlfriends or something of that matter, and they were going to go pick her up. And I'm like, I don't even want to deal with that. I don't want to go there. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. And they were just insistent that this was going to happen. So she gets in the back of the car, and as she gets in the back of the car, she hands me a stack of pictures, and I'm looking at these pictures, and they're pictures of my life. They're pictures of things that I've done, things that probably I was gonna do at the time, because again, all this, none of what we know now has ever happened. So they were pictures of my life, and some of the pictures I noticed were pictures that I know a camera wasn't present to be used to take these pictures. And I finally get to the end of the stack of pictures, and there's a picture of a young lady sitting by a grave, and I'm off to the side, kind of crouched down in my trench coat. My wife had bought me a trench coat at the time, like a cowboy duster kind of coat, and I was wearing that, and she was. It seemed like she was oblivious to my presence, because she was not looking at me at all. She was looking at the headstone, and I woke up with a solitary tear in my eye, and I said at that moment, I told God, if this is what my life is going to be, never let me forget this dream. Never let me forget this dream. And over the years, as I've walked out my life, I reflect to scenes in that dream. And as I'm going into this new phase, I'm realizing me walking down from the stage into the crowd is where I'm at now. Because strangely enough, and maybe it's because of a change that occurred recently, but within the last probably, let's just say, 10 years, I've had people from my past. Because you have to understand, when I came to church, I walked away from it all. I kind of just, I dove head first, immersed myself in my faith. I cut ties with a lot of people. I moved on, so to say, because that's what I believed I needed to do. So a lot of these people that I grew up with were no longer in my life. I mean, they were still around, but I was so focused on where God was taking me, and I was so consumed with that, and I was so driven with that's where I was heading, and it wasn't necessarily where they were heading. And so I find myself again looking back at that dream and realizing I'm in the crowd now, because a lot of you have come back into my life for whatever reason, and I sometimes wonder why. But I know if you're here and God has brought you here, this is where I need to be. So this is where I've been, journeying for the last 10 years, and now even more so, I'm blending everything together. Again, I don't know, again, what the dream's significance was, of the meaning of why I'm in the crowd, but I'm here. And I'm here because it's that time, I guess, that season. And so as I, and again, years back when I stepped down from hip hop, I thought that was the stepping down from the stage and stepping down from music ministry, because again, that's the significance that I tied to it. But I'm realizing more and more now, it's stepping down from the title and the role, and just being with you guys, living with you guys, walking amongst you guys. I think sometimes, and I've said it before, I've said it to many people, that sometimes, whether we mean to or not, we put people on pedestals, and we lift them up. We don't mean to, but again, it's just something that happens. And sometimes some of us get prideful, and we lift ourselves up as if we're better than most because we have a platform, or we have a ministry, or we have a calling. And so, in a previous post, I said I wasn't going to call this ministry anymore. It'll always be ministry, but I'm not going to be focused on the work of ministry. I am going to step out of the way and allow the Holy Spirit to do the work of ministry. And I am just going to be present. I'm just going to be available for those of you that need me. And again, I do my best. Again, there's so many people in my world, and again, I think that's one of the reasons why I kept it so separate. This person over here, this group of people over here, this group of people over here, because I could not fathom having enough time and energy for everybody. So I kind of broke everybody up into pieces, and I'd give my little bit of self that I could to whoever I could. But I'm realizing that my capacity has stretched, my ability has stretched. So I do what I can to make myself available for everybody. Just a little thought this morning just hit me. Be blessed, y'all.